Viewer discretion is advised.
This case is absolutely bizarre and might be one of the strangest and most Agatha Christie-esque stories I have ever covered.
Excellent.
Kathleen Marshall was born in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Brisbane in 1946. I don't know.
You went straight potato farmer with that second part.
I don't know. Her love of animals, particularly felines, put her on the path to veterinary school, and in 1968, at 22 years old, she graduated with honors from the University of Queensland with a degree in veterinary science.
Did she graduate with honors?
Honor. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. She immediately started working as...
a first.
Oh, okay. Oh, you just made me
Tailed it.
sick. Puns are the lowest form of comedy. Okay.
We will dig the bottom of that barrel. I will dredge.
Scrape it. She immediately started working as a vet in already established practices, but eventually opened her own practice specializing in cat care, buying a building in Brisbane that she converted into a vet clinic on the first floor and her living quarters on the second floor.
Oh, God, she could live there.
Yep. She was loved in her community and very involved in matters of the animal world as well as matters of the heart.
Aww.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
She spent her free time serving as the president of the Cat Protection Society of Queensland, and it is now that I would like to direct you to the drive to see a photo of her surrounded by cats that easily could be Lucy.
Oh, my God.
Even the glass.
They're all
Is she
so
a nice
young.
lady? Tell me she's a nice lady.
I mean, I like her,
Look at the orange
I'll
one
tell
in
you
the
that.
middle.
but it's more complicated than that, Kenyon.
I would trust her with my life.
Of course.
Oh,
At least your
God.
cat's life.
I want a table full of kittens.
I know, that's like Lucy's heaven right there in that photo. She also founded a networking club called Friends of the Vet School at University of Queensland. And my personal favorite anecdote about her, affairs of the heart, she liked to organize social dinners for single professionals
Oh, my God.
to connect them so they could date. She was divorced.
So cute.
So honestly, I find her so charming and adorable. She's the cutest. But on the morning of March 1st, 1998, two members of the Cat Protection Society arrived at her home for a meeting, and the door was unlocked.
So cats are humans.
People who are members of the Cat Protection Society.
Well,
Not
okay.
clients, members.
Members.
Okay.
Every time you say Cat Protection Society, I'm picturing people in long black trench coats.
I mean, it's
Protecting cats.
Yeah.
an intense society, so I wouldn't be surprised if they had trench
Coats.
coats.
Like the movie that we went to for Scott's birthday party that one year.
Matrix?
No.
That's the only long black trench coat movie I know.
Men in Black?
I'll think of it. Janine Garofalo's in it.
Oh, Mystery Men.
Mystery Men.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
We went to the drive-in theater for that shit.
Yeah.
That was awful.
We're so
Terrible
old.
movie.
Terrible
Okay.
movie.
Okay. So they show up for this already scheduled meeting, and the door is unlocked, which they assumed was intentional, so they could just go in and go upstairs, and not have to be let in by Kathleen. But when they made their way
Kathleen.
upstairs,
She should go by Kathleen.
Cat.
Cat.
But when they went upstairs, they noticed that the 16 cats and 3 dogs she was caring for, many of which were her pets, were unfed and clearly distressed.
Oh, no.
Kathleen was nowhere to be found. So they made their way downstairs to check the clinic, finding blood all over the door to an exam room and a strong smell of decay.
That was just the cats. In
It's just the
fairness. It's kind of the same smell.
It's not
pretty
at
different.
all
It was
the
a
same
joke.
smell.
I knew Lucy would get her.
Actually,
Very distinct.
gonna stop you right there.
I take umbrage to that.
Is that how you take umbrage now?
Umbrage.
So Kathleen's body was in the exam room, and she had 52 shallow stab wounds across her face, head, arms, chest, and abdomen.
Were they trying to put vent holes in the body?
Was
No.
she
Too
being
shallow.
potatoed?
Shallow wounds. No murder weapon was ever recovered. The folks who discovered her called the police, and an investigation began diving into the tumultuous world of the Cat Protection Society, Queensland. The investigation began by assessing the scene. It was determined that the time of death was sometime on Friday, February 27th, 1998, before 3 p.m. This estimate of the time of death was based on entomologist Russell Luke's analysis of maggots found on Kathleen Marshall's body.
I love this case.
Witnesses who were near the scene on Friday, February 27th, out for an evening walk around 7 p.m., reported hearing a single scream from the building. So that, like, before 3 p.m. time might not be super accurate, but it's like, we know it happened sometime on this day.
Yeah.
So they heard a single scream, allegedly, with no continued screaming or view of, like, a suspect fleeing the scene.
Okay.
Kathleen also failed to show up for one of her singles dinners that she had scheduled, which was incredibly uncharacteristic of her. Investigators then began tracking down and interviewing any known associates of Kathleen Marshall. Considering the fact that the door was unlocked for the folks who discovered the body, and it was believed that Kathleen's killer was someone that she knew, as there were no signs of forced entry. This is a quote from Crime Magazine. The police investigation initially focused on members of the CPSQ, where power struggles and infighting had been a common occurrence, intensifying during the 6 months before 52-year-old Marshall's death.
Gosh.
In April, however, Ken Cox, a forensic biologist from the John Tonga Center, announced that he had found male blood in the crime scene samples. Investigators decided to investigate every male person involved in the deceased's life, beginning with the male members of the CPSQ,
The Cat Protection Society of Queensland.
And any male connected to a female member.
Was it cat blood?
No.
They're saying
They
human
were
blood.
Able to determine.
Didn't say
It's
human, just said
1998, so
male.
they couldn't get like a full DNA profile in the way we can get it now, but they were able to determine that this was a blood sample from a human man.
Okay.
So it's apparently there was some bad blood between members of the CPSQ, especially from member Virginia Houston, Kathleen's next door neighbor, and a woman who carried deep resentment toward Kathleen for her status in the society.
Okay, I will just say, have any of you been to a professional cat show?
What do you think?
Can't say I have.
Haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah.
So there's one that comes around every year called the Hawkeye State Cat Show. So I've been a few times, and
So I have a yearly attachment.
those bitches are crazy.
Crazy.
They're fucking nuts.
This is the second time this week, and we're recording on a Tuesday, that I have been a part or listened to a podcast about infighting within cat protection society.
Yep.
And it's a
common.
completely different case. Like, I listened to like a Planet Money episode about somebody who like
Oh, we'll get to the money, honey.
They're
died and like left a trust fund for like cats, and then
It's really common.
I think the cat people are even crazier than dog people
They
in terms of
you
like
think?
in terms of like
You
showing.
fucking think?
Think of like Best in Show.
take. Yeah.
No, those kinds of people are always a little bit crazy, but the cat people I think skew.
Also,
Yes.
I would say
Crazier.
that regular cat people, the spectrum of crazy for cats
It's vast.
is narrower, so that everyone on that spectrum isn't as far away from the edge. Whereas the spectrum for dog people, it's like a completely different breed between like
I see what you did there.
us who get, like whatever rescue mutt and love on it for its life versus Best in Show.
My
Yeah.
fur babies.
I can see that. Cat
So-
people are just more enthusiastic about their animals in general.
Sure, maybe, or just unhinged. Anyway, Virginia, described by the press, and not my words, as a, quote, 45-year-old invalid pensioner, was only connected to Kathy through their mutual love of cats. That mutual love was not enough for the two to get along, according to Virginia.
No.
She told the Sydney Morning Herald that, quote, Kathleen Marshall was a very spiteful person, a very nasty and very vindictive person.
Tell us how you really feel, Virginia.
God.
With the Herald noting the, quote, venom dripping in her voice.
She's talking
The
about
Sunday
her
Herald is
dead
my
neighbor.
It's this
I didn't
publication.
kill her, but I'm glad she's dead.
Exactly. I pulled
didn't kill
so
that
many quotes.
dumb bitch.
It's so good. So Virginia had been acting treasurer of the CPSQ for years before Kathleen took over as president and held a vote on whether to keep Virginia in the position. The 42-2 vote ousted Virginia.
You know she voted. She was one of the two.
Yep.
And her
Who
husband.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't married.
Oh.
No. Who walked away from the job with her tail between her legs. I gave you one. Virginia's only diehard supporter, 68-year-old Corinne Welsh,
There we
had
go.
lost her board re-election months prior.
So she also had a bone to pick.
So Virginia had nobody to bat for her. She claims, quote, she wanted to get rid of me and make the society a nice little vehicle for her to get a regular income, Virginia
The
claimed.
audacity.
Yep. She even confronted Kathleen in a heated exchange demanding access to CPSQ financial records, which she claimed she was legally entitled to, but was instead escorted off the grounds of Kathleen's home empty-handed.
Oh!
There had been pushing and shoving in this exchange.
Whoa.
Escorted
They
off the
threw
ground.
fisticuffs.
Claws were out.
Claws out.
Cat
fight. Literal cat fight.
So stupid.
Virginia was salty that under Kathleen's leadership, Kathleen felt strongly that veterinarians involved in the society, including herself, should be compensated for the often substantial hours of work they did treating injured and unwell felines. What a terrible take. Mm-hmm. These vets should be paid. Victoria disagreed and felt that Kathleen was just going for a money grab. And to Kenyon's point earlier, like, they are managing pretty sizable amounts of money because most people involved in this club, which we'll get to, are elderly single women, and they leave their estate to this cat society to be liquidated and used to fund the society. So there's often like substantial amounts of money that are being handled by the treasurer. So
They got a lot of scratch.
they have a lot of scratch. A lot of scratch. Further investigation revealed that Kathleen expressed fear and anxiety in the months leading up to her brutal murder, that she was concerned she was being stalked, and that she had received nasty messages. Virginia staunchly denied sending those messages or any stalking, but did admit that she would drive by the home to see if meetings were being held. Quote, it wasn't as though I was following her around or anything like that, she told the Herald.
I already knew where she lived, so
She's
I
my
didn't have to.
Yeah. And Virginia wasn't the only society member, which consisted of about 70 mostly elderly women, LOL shocking, who had mixed feelings about their new leadership. Again, from the Sydney Morning Herald, my new favorite publication. Quote, most people thought she meant well and certainly worked hard for the welfare of cats and to get the society functioning properly, said one member who chose to remain anonymous, probably in fear of death. But she could be
scared of
I'm scared of these cat people. Quote, but she could be quite rude. She would call you late at night about this or that, and she would say she didn't care if you were asleep.
Oh my God.
It's just old ladies complaining. It's like, she would call me after 6 p.m. I've been asleep for hours.
This is Virginia, the bitchy neighbor who
No,
calls.
this is someone else who is making comments about Kathleen being rude.
Kathleen would call and be rude.
Would
Okay.
call, according to this
she had
anonymous,
vital
cranky old person.
Cat Protection Society of Queensland business to attend to.
Exactly. Legal representation for the CPSQ, as well as those close to Kathleen, maintained that, quote, she was a passionate believer in causes and she would marshal all of her resources for the sake of those creatures. Virginia was ultimately ruled out as a suspect, mostly because her physical state left her incapable of carrying out such an act. And as the Herald said, quote, "The only witnesses are some of Marshall's 14 cats, and they're not talking." But what if it wasn't anyone in the society? Rather, someone on the outskirts.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.